Welcome back, everybody. This is Brother Mutant here. Today, this is a follow-up video to the last video I just posted about Tristian. Still an unmodded video, taking him a completely different way. Now, I'd love to take credit for this build, and I will, but the idea of it actually came from someone else on a forum post. That's Roahin, R-O-A-H-I-N. If you actually know him or her and can get a hold of them, let them know thank you, because this was a solid build. I would have thought of something similar too, but again, I found it first. And again, it makes perfect sense. I am using mods to level the character up still, so you will see Bag of Tricks being used. Also, Eldritch Arcana is currently on. That means there will be feats and traits and things that you can't get in an unmodded build for if you play, say, on the console. I will steer you away from those picks. I'm not going to grab them. So again, still viable for an unmodded build. If you want that, this is for you. Now, how do we differ? Again, Tristian is a healer and not a very good attacker. And the idea came, well, you could either A, lean in heavy on his spell casting as a cleric and make him an amazing healer, which was the generic build I just uploaded. It's about a half hour long. Solid build as far as what he needs to do. Cast spells, buff the team, heal everybody, damage undead. And he's going to be great at those things. But there's another possibility that might be more interesting that still leans in heavily into spell casting. Let me explain. So first off, we get Tristian separated from the group. Remind you of his abilities at level 3. He is Theurge, which again is a cleric that will not be able to wear armor ever. Even if you give them the ability to wear armor, if he puts it on, he loses his spells. So don't bother. So he's going to be wearing robes and, of course, buffing up with spells besides. His strength sucks at 9. 12 dex and 12 con means he's not much better when it comes to ranged attacks. Intelligence of 10 doesn't much matter because he is a human and therefore he gets an extra skill at every level. So he'll get like 4 or 3 depending on what build we go with. Wisdom of 17 is a solid wisdom for a cleric. And again, if you invest all 5 points, which we're definitely going to do, you'll finish with a solid 22. That means more spells a day as well as a high DC check. Now on that, I thought, well, you know, there's other classes that use wisdom for spellcasting. We don't have to stay in Theurge. I mean, you're 3. But doesn't mean we have to go that route. And he has a solid 16 charisma. I could take him, say, a sorcerer or even an Eldritch Scion, because 16 charisma is more than enough to cast your level 6 spells. And we could do a Mystic Theurge build. Now, I'm not going to do the Eldritch Scion. If you want to see that, again, I've done build videos before where we did that with a cleric, cleric slash Eldritch Scion. So you can have a wisdom, charisma-based character and still be pretty badass. But we're actually going to go sorcerer. We're going a specific kind of sorcerer. So no, of course, he has 3 points in persuasion, 3 in lore nature, 3 in lore religion, 3 in perception, and that's all we could give him. That's the way he showed up on our doorstep. Notice he has selective channel, an extra channel cleric at level 1, and he still has his metamagic extend, and of course his bonded holy symbol. That's going to be extremely useful for us later. We're not going to get any of this other fancy schmancy stuff, because you're never touching cleric level again. Okay, so let's force level him up and show you what I have in mind. So we go to character, we give him 3, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. He's level 20 now. So what are we going to do? Well, like I said, we're going to play sorcerer. Normally sorcerers use charisma. Again, he has 16. That's enough for level 6 spells, but we're not going to give him any more into that, so that'd be kind of wasteful. But you see this one here? Imperial sorcerer. This is one that literally uses wisdom to cast their spells. And again, it's a divine sorcerer, if you will, hence the Imperial and the divine spells that he's going to get for free. So like Bless, Resist Energy, we'll even get all the way up to here for Protection of Energy. So we'll go 7 levels of Imperial Sorcerer eventually. Right now we're only going to go 4 levels in. And then we'll start Mystic Theurge. So again, look at Mystic Theurge, find out what you're going to need. Arcana to 3, we can do that right now. And then we just need to get to 2nd level Arcane spells. Well, that's a level 4 Imperial Sorcerer. Hence the reason why we're going to go 4 levels first. So we're going to go Mystic Theurge ASAP. So again, point in wisdom. Again, notice that would be an extra level 4 spell here and here. Eventually, we'll get that. Those 3 points here, we're going all in Knowledge Arcana. Now we have met that requirement. Now, as far as feats are concerned, again, we could still do the crazy ass extra channel, from start to finish. That's dumb. No offense, but for this build, it's terrible because he's not a cleric. And again, we're only going to finish with 2d6 worth of healing every time you smack one of those buttons. That's just a complete waste. So either 2d6 of healing, AoE style, or 2d6 of damage if you're talking about the one that damages undead. That's a terrible idea. But since we're leaning heavily into both his casting from the Cleric side as well as his Sorcerer side of things, I thought, how about we start getting some things like Spell Focus? So now the question is, what Spell Focus or Spell Foci to get? Well, I'm glad you asked. I have a list of how many spells I wanted. Doesn't mean we'll get all of them, but of the ones that I thought might be cool. For Evocation, Transmutation, Conjuration, and Necromancy were the top 4. Of those 4, we need to whittle it down some more, because that's just too many to grab. So, which one had the most spells that I wanted, that also had the most saves? You know, they had a saving throw associated with the spell, because that's what we're talking about, a DC check. That's what Spell Focus is giving us, a better DC check, right? So, Evocation for Sorcerer and Cleric spells are all the ones that I wanted to get, totaled up to be about 23 to 24 spells that would have a saving throw associated with them. That's pretty good, right? Not surprising as well. If we do Transmutation for both, again, Sorcerer and Cleric, the spells combined, we get about 7. That's not that amazing, so we kind of discard that one right offhand. For Conjuration, on the other hand, for both Cleric and Sorcerer spells combined, we get about 23 to 24 again, very similar to what we saw for the Evocation. Now on this, and again, just to preemptively jump to the Necromancy, which only had 19 total, those numbers still look impressive, but try to remember, since we're talking about Cleric spells too, some of the Cleric spells that have saving throws are like your Cure Light Wounds, Cure Moderate Wounds. Those have saving throws. Those are associated with damaging undead, and that's not something he's going to want to do. He's not a meleeer, so walking up and touching a guy on the shoulder is a bad idea. So you can lower all these Conjuration spell numbers and Necromancy spell numbers by at least 4. Why 4? Because Cure Light Wounds, Cure Moderate Wounds, Cure Serious, and Cure Critical are all melee touch attacks with saving throws. Those are Conjuration spells. And they have the reverse Inflict line of spells, the same exact 4, but the Inflict version, and those are Necromancy spells. So again, if you lower those by 4, then we have about 19 to 20 Conjuration spells and about 15 Necromancy. And again, that's still solid. It's still plenty of choices to pick from. So now the question is, do we dilute it down even more and go, say, Spell Focus for all 3? Or can we have some real fun and go Spell Focus, Greater Spell Focus for 2? Now, I guess that takes 4 feats, but what else are we going to burn feats on? So what I suggest is you go Spell Focus, Greater Spell Focus for Evocation, and not necessarily in that order, and do the same thing, Spell Focus, Greater Spell Focus for either Conjuration or Necromancy. Again, your choice. I'm going Conjuration, and I'm going to show you why, because it's going to tie into some of these other free feats that we're going to get. So notice we're getting 1 feat right here for our first level of Sorcerer, Imperial Sorcerer. And might as well go Evocation, because chances are one of the first spells you're going to grab is an Evocation spell. Now on that, since we're playing a Sorcerer, we have to be careful on the type of spells that we pick. Remember, once you pick them, you have them for all time. This is it. Now, the Cleric side's a little more flexible, sure. But there's 2 things you need to know since we're going to go Mystic Theurge. We have to share spells, or we have the ability to eventually. So our level 1 Sorcerer spells will be available to a level 2 Cleric. Same with the Cleric level 1 spells. They'll be available to our level 2 Sorcerer spell book, which is kind of cool, right? Part of the fun. Now, having said all that, there is a caveat. Here it is. If, for example, let's see if I can find you one. I think that's available to a Cleric. Yeah, right there. See, Tristian, he already has this access to this because he's a level 2 Cleric right now. So this is a spell that he has access to. I'm not saying he has picked it. I'm just saying that the Cleric side has it, right? Now watch this. If I don't take this here, then I never get it as a Sorcerer. They don't share it. You see that? So that's the thing. If I want this on the Sorcerer side and the Cleric side has it too, I have to pick it. If, say, instead, let's say I wanted Shield spell, something that the Cleric doesn't have access to. Again, something I want, I grab here. If the Cleric side doesn't have access to these 2 spells, and it does not, then both of these spells will be available to the Cleric at level 2 eventually, right? So keep an eye out for stuff like that. And it doesn't have to be the same level. For example, there's some spells that the Cleric has, like I want to say, like Animate Dead at level 3, where the Sorcerer can pick it up at level 4. It does not matter. If the Cleric can get it at all, and you want it from the Sorcerer side of things, you don't get it transferred over for free. You have to pick it. So again, we will be picking it. Now, I picked these 2. That doesn't mean I want these 2. Let's talk about the spells at level 1 all the way through level 9 every time we come to a new level. Okay, so level 1, these are the spells to me that stick out as being interesting. Remember, we're looking for Conjuration spells, Evocation spells preferentially, and a little spoiler alert, we will do Summons in this build, because the Cleric gets Summons as well as the Sorcerer, which is pretty badass. And we will also enhance spells based on elemental focus. 2 different elemental foci, no less, fire and cold. Now you may say, why those two? Oh, I'm glad you asked. Because just like I did the list based on the schools, I'm a complete psychopath, and did a list based on the ones that do specific types of elemental damage. Because I know there's elemental focus and greater elemental focus for fire, cold, acid, and electric. I wanted to tally them up. So for the fire spells that were available to the cleric and the wizard, that had saves, of course, I totaled out right about 11 or 12 spells that are going to have a saving throw. That's a solid choice. Cold was the next runner-up with 8 total spells that were cold-based that had a DC check associated with them, again from the cleric and from the wizard's or the sorcerer spell book. That's not bad. Acid only had 5. None of them were cleric spells. Not that that matters, because remember, if you grab them as a sorcerer, now the cleric will have access to some of them. Not all, but some. The electric was actually a pretty good runner-up as well. It had 7 between the cleric and the sorcerer. There were 7 spells that had a DC check that were electric-based. And again, that's pretty cool. So you could go fire and cold, fire and electric, cold and electric, and pretty much be a good choice. Even acid with 5 is not that bad, and the acid ones are pretty damn powerful. And in many cases, you'll love this, they're either evocation, which we already have a good, or will have a +2 bonus to, or they're conjuration, which again, we'll have another +2 bonus to. So again, the goal is to have a +4 for a lot of your spells to the DC check, so you really hit hard, okay? So, of this list, let's go back to level 1 and talk about spells. I can only pick 5. I will get a free one, just to show this to you. Back here, I will get Bless for free eventually, and I mean eventually. You'll get Resist Energy and Protection Energy from free from the Sorcerers. But this is level 18, 19, and 20. This will be the level 20 build, will be the level 7 Imperial Sorcerer. This will be the last feat you pick up. Because we're going 4 levels in it, remember? And then we're going Mystic Theurge for 10 levels. And then we finish off here, here, and here for Imperial Sorcerer to get your level 8 spells. Okay? Now, on that, for level 1 spells, again, with only being able to pick 5, not counting Bless, which isn't even on our list here. That's nice. What do I like from this list? Well, the 2 that I picked are actually 2 on my list. Notice other things that make the cut could be Burning Hands, because of the evocation +2 and fire +2 that we would have for it. It's kind of crappy. It's low level. It does solid AoE damage, though. You have to get kind of close for it, though. And again, that's something that Tristian's not going to be great at. So I'd probably pass on that. Notice we also have a solid conjuration spell. Grease spell. We'll have a +2 to it. And again, you got to love something else, and I should be pointing out as well. Not only are we looking for conjuration / evocation spells, but also fire and cold spells, and we're also looking for spells that have no spell resistance. Why? Because by the end of this build, your caster level for Cleric will be 13. Your caster level for Sorcerer will be 17. That's not impressive. Spell resistance is overcome by your spell caster level, so 17 being our best if we use a Sorcerer spell. That's not good. 20 is good, and then if you get Spell Pen and Greater Spell Pen, that's a 24. That's pretty damn good. We're not going to be anywhere near that. You see that? So again, no spell resistance is going to be money for this build. So Grease is a solid choice. Reduce Person for obvious protection. And again, it doesn't matter that's a transmutation spell or no spell resistance because these are buffs. So buffs are also something we were interested in. And again, ones that are not available from the cleric side, ideally. So, what is this one going to give us? +2 to your dex, which he has a terrible dex anyway at 12. Now it's 14. Yeah, that's a size bonus too. So that's pretty powerful, right? Because then you can get like a belt of cat's dexterity or whatever. And that would stack with this buff. And because you're a teeny tiny person now, it's easier to hit those big fat hits. So you're going to get basically +2 to your armor with this one spell, +2 to your attack with any ranged weapon. That includes raise spells, which is again something he can actually do pretty good. Not bad, right? And again, yeah, his strength is going down. It's something that's going to be a penalty for him. But again, you're not expecting him to carry anything heavy. He's not wearing armor at all. He's using like a crossbow, robes, and whatever you deck out with the other slots of like rings and stuff. So if you give him stuff that just buffs his dex and con, that's probably going to be good enough. If you can get strength in there too, hey, great. If not, I wouldn't worry about it. But definitely Reduce Person and both shield as well is a solid upgrade. Now, for attack stuff though, Magic Missile, something the cleric doesn't have, and again, an auto hit spell. Nothing wrong with this spell. And yes, it's an evocation. That has nothing to do with us picking it. Because, again, there's still spell resistance. There's no saving throw, so we're not benefiting, quote-unquote, for getting Magic Missile other than the obvious use of it. But it's a solid spell. Auto hit And again, another thing that we will look for in our attack spells. Stuff that's auto hit or stuff that has a saving throw with it, but even if they make the saving throw, it'll have an effect. So again, that's a lot I've dumped on you for spells, but let me keep reading my list. It'll all come together at the end. Magic Missile is a choice. I hemmed and hawed over Mage Armor. It's something that, again, the Cleric doesn't have access to, and with you not having robe, or armor, but wearing robes, this is a solid upgrade. The downside is, you can honestly get him a Mage Armor Wand that's like a level, or like 50 uses a day, or sorry, 50 uses total, like charges, and it uses it for an hour increments, because it's like a level 1 spell, so it's like a 1 hour buff, and that's good enough. By the time you actually used up that wand for just him, for Tristian, you probably have found him either robes that have a plus armor class to it, or give him some braces of armor class +2, +3, +4, or better, obviously. So I'm not worried about it. I would suggest not grabbing it. But again, your choice. But note we only have 5 picks here. And already I've suggested 3, 4 things. So we got Magic Missile, Reduce Person, Shield, and Grease. What else would be on my list? Well, we could go for something like Snowball. Conjuration spell with a saving throw. That's a +2 eventually by our end of our build. And it's a cold spell, so another +2. So this is going to be a +4 to the DC check on this bastard. Now, yeah, maybe it doesn't matter. Because, again, it's only for the staggered condition. So it's kind of wasted on you. But so what? You still want it. It's a raise spell. You're going to be reasonably good at shooting those things. And it does damage. And my favorite part, no spell resistance. Right? Why wouldn't you want this? It's a solid, solid upgrade. Now, other than that, other things that stick out, stay away from summon monsters, stay away from the melee touch attacks, because again, you're not good at it. You're not going to have weapon finesse, and your strength sucks. So why would you want a melee touch attack where you'd have to walk over and go boop to a target? It's putting you in danger where you don't need to be, and the damage or the debuff or whatever it is not usually that good. So I would shy away from those ones. True Strike, on the other hand, is a solid choice. I'm not going to grab it, but you could convince me it's worth a damn. And remember, since it's not available on the Cleric side of things, Clerics will have access to this eventually at level 2. So again, you may not need to spontaneously cast it all the time, but you could slot it as a level 2 Cleric spell like once for just when you need to hit. You know what I mean? Just activate it and bam, there you go. So again, a viable option. Other stuff that was on the list, I think there's just one more. Yeah, Ray of Enfeeblement. Not Ray of Sickening, because again, the Cleric has that for free, and I would not use this a lot. So if you would use this a lot, feel free to grab Ray of Sickening. Like I said, I went Conjuration, Evocation. Maybe you went Conjuration and Necromancy. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're doing that, look at your Necromancy spells. This is a solid spell, but it is a save or suck spell proper. That's one of the reasons I don't like it. The other is, again, the Cleric has it for free. I don't need to have it for spontaneous casting. But this one, on the other hand, this one's money. Again, I'm not getting it, but you could convince me it's a solid choice. Why? Because even if they make their save, they still take half that penalty to strength. You see the appeal? And again, if you went Necromancer, like Necromancer Conjurer, like I just said, you would get a +2 to this casting of this. So it'd be harder for them to make that check. And again, even if you hit that Fighter, Barbarian, Strong Troll motherfucker in the face with this thing, and he Fortitude saves, because he probably will, half penalty, again, minimum damage here at maximum strength, which is the +5 over here. You roll a 1d6, so let's say you roll a 1, and then the 5 is a 6. If they make their check, you've at least damaged their strength by 3 points. And while that doesn't sound like much, remember, 3 points of strength down is a guaranteed -1 minimum to their swing with their melee weapon, and to their damage, probably a +2 to their damage if they're using a two-hander. So again, you can see the appeal. You're softening them up, making it easier for you to mess them up. And again, that's a solid screw you spell. So again, still recommended, but I'm not going to grab it. So let's get back to our offensive abilities. I would say Reduce Person probably first, and then Magic Missile. Why in this particular order versus, say, something like Shield? Again, we'll get that one next. But I like the bonus to Dex. I like the extra armor. And yes, this is more armor too, but I like the bonus to Dex. And again, there's a lot more pluses that you're getting from Reduced Person, really, than you're just getting from a +4 armor bump. Yeah, this makes you immune to Magic Missile, so there is some utility there. But it's unlikely they're going to target you anyway. And again, now we have Magic Missile, so I'm happy with that. So again, we can start off pew-pewing all you want. So notice you get some extra free stuff, like some raise spells, spell-like ability, Heavenly Fire. You can use that 2 ways. One, to heal good targets. You notice like how he is a good target. So don't target your teammates that aren't good, because it won't heal them. But you can use it to damage anyone that's not good. as a raise spell. Something like minor damage, but who gives a shit? It's a free raise spell is my point. And again, that's something. And of course, you get your typical sorcerer cantrip. So we got our Acid Splash, Jolt, Ray of Frost, Disrupt Undead, all that shit's there, like you see down here. Solid screw you to the bad guys. Going Sorcerer for 4 levels, like I said. Remember, Imperial Sorcerer. For here, we're only going to get 3 points every level. From this point on, like literally the entire game, you're only going to get 3 points every level. Because we're not going to bump intelligence at all. So what would I invest in? Perception always. Religion always. Arcana always. Why not use Magic Device? Well, now let me explain something here. The way you use Magic Device is worked in the game is if it's a spell in a wand or a scroll form, is what we're talking about, right? If you want to use, let's say, a wand of Mage Armor. You notice I don't have Mage Armor yet, or I'll never pick it either. But it's part of the spell list that I should have access to. Same with all the Cleric spells. Doesn't matter that it's a level 9 Cleric spell. If you're a level 1 Cleric, you can cast it. Boom. Period. Because you have training in the field. You understand? So we have any Cleric spell we can cast willy-nilly. Now we can cast any Wizard or Sorcerer spell willy-nilly. Just period. If it's a Sorcerer spell book or Wizard spell book, it could be in there. We can cast it from a wand or a scroll. We do not use Magic Device check. So why invest in it? The only thing that would fall into this category then would be Druid specific spells, Ranger, Paladin, things of this name, Bard even, spells that are only for those guys. And again, why do you give a shit? You probably don't care about the few spells that they had access to. Yeah, it'd be nice, but you don't have to be amazing at every spell category. So I'm going to shy away from this and invest in Arcana, because you're, again, a Sorcerer. Religion, because, again, you are also a Cleric. And Perception, because you want to find magic treasure and traps and stuff, don't you? So, again, these ones will always go up. Let's go further. Now, again, I could get Greater Spell Focus for Evocation. Again, get it another +1, but there's no point. Grab, or right now anyway, go Spell Focus and get Conjuration and unlock it. Now, either of those spell categories now, whether it's Cleric or Sorcerer, if it's Evocation or Conjuration, we got a nice +1 to the DC check, right? Very nice. Going Sorcerer, level 3, still level 1 spells. Again, Perception, Lore, Religion, and Knowledge Arcana, always the same 3. Again, we're going back to our list, so I'm not going to repeat it, but I'm just going to tell you which one I'm going to grab. Shield. Notice we got Bless for free, and yes, Bless was available on the Cleric side of things, but now we have it on this side too as a spontaneous casting. And remember, level 13 by the end of the build, level 17 by the end of the build, this one has a duration. So which one do you want? The one that lasts for 13 minutes or the one that lasts for 17 minutes? Do you want to slot this at level 1 Cleric? Maybe there's something better that you can slot over there. And then you just use Bless from this spontaneous casting side, because again, you have multiple castings of it in a day. That's the power of this build. You get to pick and choose which ones are in your spell book for a Cleric, and which ones are just spontaneous casting that you're just going to use from the Sorcerer side of things. Cool. Notice we get some Celestial Resistance, level 5 resistance to acid and cold. We will not get the level 9/10 upgrade, because you're not going to get 9 levels of Sorcerer. You're just going to be considered Spellcaster level 17. Be real clear on this. You're going to be a level 3 Cleric and a level 7 Sorcerer by the end of this build. Level 4. Now this is finally, now if you look over here at Mystic Theurge, you'll see we've met all the requirements. This is the last requirement, being able to cast level 2 arcane spells. We've met everything else as far as requirements now. So let's finish up Sorcerer level 4. Same points always. Now I can go Greater Spell Focus for either of those. Of course, we are keeping all our spells because I don't think you can do this. I do this because of my mod. So again, I could spec out of something, but since I don't think you can, I'm just going to keep every spell that I pick. Okay? If you can spec out, hey, do that thing. Grab something like a sleep spell and then spec it out later. Nothing wrong with that. But if you can't keep all your spells, I'm going to keep all my spells. Now, again, I can do Greater Spell Focus. I could also start Elemental Focus. I'm not going to. For my fire and my cold, or my fire and my electric, or my cold and electric, or my fire and my acid. Again, whatever you want. But know by the end of this build, you're going to get Greater Spell Focus for 2 schools, and you're going to get Elemental Focus and Greater Elemental Focus for 2 schools. So that's 8 feats that we're burning up, and that still leaves a room for 2 other things that we're going to grab. One here, and one slightly down the road. So I say, let's go back to our Greater Spell Focus, and get that Evocation up some more. Level 2 spells. Now, level 2 spells on my list, I like, in no particular order, I'm just going to click them, because we only get, by the way, to pick 5 of these. Web Spell, and again, I know it's a transmutation, it doesn't matter. It has no spell resistance, an effect even if they make their save. They're in an entangled area, right? So difficult terrain is always going to be down on the ground. That's kind of nice. Don't like that one. I notice there's some spells you don't have access to. I have toyed around with the idea of Sense Vitals. I'm going to shy away from it. You could get this. It's still reasonably early, and that's not bad sneak attack damage. The fact that the Cleric doesn't have access to it too, that's not bad either. But I have very limited picks on this level, and there's other stuff that I want. Let me show you some of the other things I want. I want stuff like Mirror Image, nice buff. I know I want Blur, another buff, that's 2. I want Bone Shaker, potentially. This is available as a Cleric. Because it's available as a Cleric, if you want to have it for spontaneous casting, you have to pick it up. This is an awesome spell. Solid damage. Now, we won't max it out. It will not be 13d6 of damage by the end of our build, because we're not level 20, caster level. We're level 17, so that means we're going to get 8d6 and 3d6. What is that, 11d6 of damage with this thing? Only from the Sorcerer side of things. It's going to be even weaker for the Cleric, but it's auto hit, and even if they make the save, it still does damage. So again, you like those spells. Burning Arc is something that's on my list. What else? Glitter Dust is on my list. And again, for the same reason, Conjuration, Blind Them, that sounds awesome. Has an effect even if they make their check. No spell resistance, an amazing spell. I also even have many of the pit spells. You'll find that all of them are Conjuration spells. They all have no spell resistance because it's just a big fucking hole in the ground. I do not like the ones that are, they fall, they take damage, and that's it. That's like this spell here. So I'm going to pass on this one. I like the ones that it's continuous damage. So there's like one that's called Acid Pit. There's one that's called Hungry Pit, where it just like constantly squeezes in and out on the bastard like an accordion. So they take damage once they're in the pit repeatedly. And those are solid choices, and that's not the only two. I'm just saying those are the ones that I turn to in my time o' need. Other stuff that was on level 2, I had it. I'm going to say don't get it. I had Acid Arrow. It's not that this is anything wrong with this, but notice there's no save, but there's also no spell resistance, so there's plenty of reason to like this one. This was, again, a throwback for if you grab Sense Vitals for some sneak attack damage, because you can shoot this at long goddamn range. And while 2d4 of acid damage ticking away is not that impressive, notice again, we're not going to get to 18th level, so we're not going to get 6 additional rounds. You only get 5. It's a spell that's not available to a Cleric, so you could get it on the Cleric side of things too. That'd be kind of a waste, but you could do it. And again, you could get sneak attack damage, so 2d4 looks like lame sauce, but then throw another 5d6 of acid on top of that. But that's only if you had Sense Vitals. And again, we're not grabbing that, right? So I would shy away from that. Even Scorching Ray didn't make the cut. Well, actually it did, but I'm not going to grab it. And the reason behind this one is while we're not great at ray spells, we're not horrible at it, and that little dex buff from that size reduced person spell does help quite a bit. And the fact that it's 3 beams, so it's 3 separate checks. You may miss once, you may miss twice, but you'll probably hit one of those 3 times. And maybe you'll hit 2, maybe you'll hit near 0. But again, you have a constant chance of hitting the target, and that could be okay. There's no save. There is no... So the fact that it's a fire and an evocation spell doesn't do shit for us. But again, it didn't make the cut. I'd rather have buffage. What buffage? We got blurred, we got mirror image. Let's grab those first. Okay. Notice now Mystic Theurge is available. Notice that we're going to have to pick the 2 schools of training. So obviously one's going to be Sorcerer, the other's going to be Cleric. And then notice this. Combined spells level 1, level 2, 3, 4, and eventually 5. That literally is what I've been telling you. Level 1 spells from my Cleric side will be transported over to my level 2 Sorcerer spells, and vice versa. Level 1 Sorcerer spells will be available as level 2 Cleric spells that I can slot up. All the way up to level 5 eventually. So level 5 spells become level 6 for either class. That means level 6 spells, level 7 spells, 8, and of course 9 which we won't have access to. But 6, 7, or 8 are unique. So if you pick a level 6 Wizard spell, or Sorcerer spell, excuse me, it will not be transferred over to the Cleric. Or 7 or 8 for that matter. And same with the Cleric stuff. So just so we're clear. It's only up to level 5 stuff. But it's still power. A lot of good coming from this. But we're going to go Mystic Theurge for 10 full levels. Okay, Cleric, Imperial Sorcerer, of course. Again, we're always upgrading Wisdom. That's our caster stat for both of those classes. Cleric and Imperial Sorcerer. Always those 3. Level 1 spell. Again, I'm not going to read the list, but I'm just going to grab something. Since we're doing enough Conjuration stuff now, I don't mind grabbing, say, Snowball a little early. There's not another buff that we want on here. Grease is probably our last spell pick. Let's prove it to myself. I got Shield, Snowball, Reduce Person, Magic Missile. Yeah, if it's not Grease, it's True Strike or Rave Enfeeblement, and I didn't want either of those. So it's going to be Grease will be our last pick here. And again, you could swap that out early, because it's another Conjuration spell. There's plenty of reason to want Grease earlier, too. Level 2, notice these are all the Cleric stuff. See all this shit? This just got imported. And again, only the stuff, see this? That was available to just the Cleric. There's another spell that's missing from here for sure. What's it called? Protection from Alignment. Why? Because at level 1, I could have grabbed Protection from Alignment. This is my point. Since I didn't want it, I'll get it from the Cleric side. I only get cast it a few times a day if I slot it up. And I'll do that. Once or twice, that's going to be good enough for me. But I will not be able to spontaneously cast it. That would be over here. But notice I do get Protection from Evil, because that was unique. That's not something that a Sorcerer had access to. And yes, I know that's just a watered-down version of Protection from Alignment, because Protection from Alignment is evil or good or lawful or chaotic. You can get to pick or choose when you cast a spell. But at least I have that. And again, if I know I'm fighting evil guys, hey man, that's spontaneous casting. Use that shit. But again, this is what I mean when I say pick it if you want it. Level 2. What do I want over here? We already got Blur. Let's grab that mirror image. Where are you at there? Sunshine. Noise. Going Mystic Theurge. Point. Okay, keeping all the spells because I assume you have to as well. And now we're talking about feats. Now, let's be real clear on this. We are a level 3 Cleric, but we're also a level 4 Sorcerer, plus 2 to each of those, because that's what this did, right? So technically we're level 5 Cleric, we're level 6 Imperial Sorcerer. That means level 3 spell casting for us. So, what could I do instead of spell focus, or sorry, greater spell focus for either of these, or start the elemental focus? Well, you see this guy here? Augment Summoning. Remember I told you we're going to be a summoner as well, since we're already going in Conjuration. There's 2 feats that you want besides Spell Focus Conjuration and Greater Spell Focus Conjuration. You want Augment Summoning, assuming you have summoning animal spells, and Clerics beautifully have access to many of those. Then, the last one you want is in my unavailable, because you need Augment Summoning to unlock it, but it's under the S's. Let me show it to you. It is called Superior Summoning. This will be something we pick up not till level 20. So it's kind of late, but we're getting it for free. And here's why we're getting it for free. You can pick it up here. You can pick Augment Summoning up here as well. But again, I grabbed Augment Summoning sooner. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. Just so you understand where I'm going with this build. Level 3, now, you may think, well, you just picked up Augment Summoning. Aren't you going to get this? No, remember, these are available on the Cleric side. All of these. Level 1, 2, all the way up to 9, which we won't have access to. Even the silly ones that are like the Summon Elementals, the Cleric has access to most of them, I think, too. So again, a solid Cleric has that covered. We'll get some of the better ones, but level 3 is kind of lame. Let's grab something that's a Conjuration spell, and let's talk about level 3 spells as well now that we're here. On the list of stuff that I liked, Battering Blast, and you may say, you suck at raised spells, you just said so. Well, yes, you will get 3 balls by the end of this build, because it's at level 15 you get your 3rd ball. We're not going to be level 20, so you don't get the 4th. It's 5d6 to damage. That's not bad. And each time it smacks them in the snoot, it pushes them back. Remember, we're going to grab all those pit spells that I like? Not all, but a couple of them. That allows you to shove them into the pit. And if you shove them into the pit, any way you do it, using this for example, that would literally guarantee they fall in the pit. They don't get a reflex save. They fall. Period. It's like, whoop, swallows them whole. Kind of fucking cool, right? Now, I still haven't decided that I want this one because there's other stuff on this list that I like. For instance, I like Displacement. I don't necessarily need it, but the Cleric side doesn't have it, so this would be useful for both spells books. Fireball, again, something the Cleric side doesn't have. As AoE, Evocation +2, Fire, another +2. This is a solid spell. Lightning Bolt, and probably pass on it. Fireball is easier for us to hit with. I love my buffs. Haste is not available to a Cleric. That's an amazing spell and doesn't have anything to do with the fact that it's Transmutation. Just a solid buff all around. Other stuff on this list, again, Spiked Pits, but again, no spell resistance is nice. The Conjuration is also nice, but it only does damage once. So it's kind of, pass. Stinking Cloud, on the other hand, is the one we're going for sure. And when we talk about that one, let me see, there's nothing else that I'm missing. Oh, Slow, sorry. Slow's another one that was on my list, and I may still grab it, and you may say, but you're not a transmuter. Same argument that I had a couple days ago with a different build where we picked up Slow Spell. Yes, but remember, it's teammate friendly. It's AoE, and while most of them might make that will save, if it catches just one dude, that's helpful. If it catches more than one, again, helpful. But notice this last part. If they have cast haste on themselves, as far as I know, it strips the buff off of them. Period. Slow dispels haste. It says it right there. So there is no will check on that point. Anyone that has haste that you cast this on, bad guy, obviously, that you cast this on, it would immediately dispel their haste spell without fail. Just poof, it's gone. And that's, again, a utility that I like. I kind of dig counter spells, if you will. So, a solid choice. Now, why am I grabbing Stinking Cloud? Well, again, Conjuration, no spell resistance, and you don't know this yet, but you just leveled up to a Cleric level where now you can cast Delay Poison Communal to your whole goddamn team for 1 hour with one spell from the Cleric side of things, and that will protect them from this spell and another one that we're going to get later on. This is a solid screw you. This trivializes many fights. Tristian can stand in this cloud once he has that delay poison on him for an hour and not be affected by it. And then when the bad guys try to charge his ass, chances are they will fail it. They're puking their guts out. They won't swing. They can defend themselves, but they will not attack. That's awesome. That's our delay poison communal that I was just telling you about. And again, we just leveled up in a way that gives us level 3 cleric spells, which is awesome. And notice the animate dead, by the way. I just point out some of the unique stuff that, or not unique, but the stuff that is particularly interesting. Go Mystic Theurge some more. Always the same 3. Level 1. We're down to our last one here. Remember which one we said we wanted? Wanted that grease spell, didn't you? Freaking sweet. And again, just as a nice reminder, Conjuration +2. No spell resistance. We love that. And grease spell from start to finish in this game is always a great spell pick, I have found. Web spell too, but really grease is money because it's a small patch versus web, which is fucking huge. Level 2. We got our mirror image and blur. Let's get ourselves something offensive. How about a little burning arc, baby? Again, I'm going to grab Bone Shaker for sure. You get 5 picks. So this is pick 1, pick 2, pick 3. Bone Shaker will be pick 4, and then I got 1 more still to go. But Burning Arc is a solid one, and again, the Cleric doesn't have access to it. It's auto hit. It's an evocation spell. That's a +2 for us eventually. It's a fire spell. That's another +2 for it. And again, we will get the full 10d6 of damage and boom, 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 bouncing through multiple dudes. Solid spell. Level 3. We have our Stinking Cloud. What else was on our list? We definitely wanted that fireball. Might as well just grab that shit now. Boop. More Mystic Theurge, please. Grab that and that and that. Keeping all our spells. What are we going to grab here? Now I can start working on elemental focus, like fire. We just grabbed like 2 of those spells, right? And there's fire spells, sort of, on the cleric side. Not many, but like 1 or 2. And again, that's useful for you. Again, cold is my other choice. I'm going to go with fire, though. Level 4, on my list for here, Acid Pit. Sadly, it's an acid spell, and that's great for you if you went Conjuration, Acid, Fire, and Evocation, because this is one of those acid spells I said is awesome. Notice it's an Acid Pit. No spell resistance. Solid DC check if you went Conjuration and Acid. Just saying, for us, we'll get a +2. You could get a +4. And it does damage over time. It's one of the reasons I like this spell. Animate Dead, though, makes the cut. And again, yes, the Cleric has access to it in his slots. Wouldn't you like to spontaneously cast a Skeleton Horde every now and again? I know I would. So then you need to take it as the Sorcerer. That's definitely going to make the cut. Bone Shatter is another amazing spell. And on level 4, by the way, just so we're clear, you're only getting 4 spells to pick from. So it's a very limited list. But Bone Shatter is another solid choice. Again, yes, the Cleric has access to it. And yes, if you want to spontaneously cast it, you need to take it here. And it has an effect. Even if they make their save, they're still fatigued and they take half damage. Solid auto hit spell. I would shy away from Controlled Fireball. You'd be good at it, but there's no need anymore. Dragon's Breath, on the other hand, is a solid make the cut build. Evocation bump. And 2 of the 4 different types of breath damages that you can do will have a buff to. Remember, we have fire and cold elemental focus and greater elemental focus by the end of the build. So this can be anywhere from a +2 to a +4 to the DC check. Yeah, they could reflex out of it, but they'll take half damage unless they're those ninja bastards. And again, I like the high utility. 4 different elemental types of damage is solid. And 12d6 of damage is nice. Ignore this part. There is spell resistance. It's not what it says here. This is a lie. That's a shame because they never patched that out. Other stuff on that made the list. I had Greater Invis. Since you're not going to do Sense Vitals, I would say pass on this one. It's solid protection, don't kid yourself, and you can cast it on someone else. But it's still one of those where it's like, yeah, I got better things I can do with my time. Obsidian Flow is a solid choice, but we're not going to grab it. It's a long duration. Notice the no spell resistance. Transmutation spell, so no love there, but it is a fire spell. So we will get at least a +2 to it eventually. It does solid damage, and it provides that difficult terrain. Notice if they fall down in it, they actually take damage from the sharp glass, the obsidian that they're falling into. They don't take that continuously unless they stand back up and then fall again. Well, what can do that? How about a grease spell? It's not as big as Obsidian Flow, but if once you find where they fall down, slap a grease spell underneath the motherfucker on the next combat round. If he falls down, gets back up, falls down, gets back up, he'll constantly take damage, and that just never gets old. That's just funny. It's lame damage, but it does trivialize them. And again, even if they stand up from the grease, pass it, and get out of the grease effect, remember, this is difficult terrain for that whole patch of Obsidian Flow, which is much bigger. Even while they're in the grease spell, then that means they're literally going to be moving out of the grease spell slowly. They may not be able to clear that shit, which means they fall again next round, which is just funny. But we're not going to grab that one. Other stuff on this list for level 4 was... Oh, hell, walk right. Oh, that's level 5, level 4. Where was I? Yeah. Shout could make the cut. Why? 2 reasons. The stun effect, and the fact that, well, of course, the Fortitude partial save, as well as the no spell resistance. This is true. This is not bad. So you have someone that's high spell resistance and you're having a hard time damaging them, AoE style, Shout is a not bad spell. It's not great, it doesn't do epic damage, but it is a decent screw you, and at least it's an evocation, so we got at least a +2 to it. But I'm not going to grab that. Same with Stone Skin, I would pick it up if it weren't for the fact that we got other choices. But this is, again, one that the Cleric doesn't have access to, and you can see the appeal for having something like this on tap, where you could buff the whole goddamn team. But again, probably not going to make the cut. And I would even mention Summon Monster 4 at this point. You may notice that I haven't mentioned any of the other summon spells up until now. Why? Because the other ones, quite frankly, suck. 4 on up are not bad. I mean, you're getting Dire Wolf, you're getting multiple Monitor Lizards, we're getting many, many Wolves, depending on which of the 3 you grab. Remember, thanks to our Augment Summoning, anything we summon gets a +4 to Strength, +4 to Con. So they're stronger, they hit harder, and they have more HP and better Fortitude saves. All a plus. You can see the appeal here. Notice I didn't mention the Summon Medium Elemental. They would get the buff too. However, at the level 20, when we're getting that Superior Summoning, where you can summon more than one thing, they won't benefit from this, because you only summon one and always only one. Even on these guys, if you summon just the Dire Wolf, you're only going to get one. Always only one. But if you go for the 1d3 or the 1d4 plus 1s, which at level 3, Summon Monster on up has access to all those categories. If it's the die roll, you add 1 to it. That's what Superior Summoning does at level 20 for us. So 1d3 guarantees it'll be minimum of 2, maximum of 4. Same with this guy. Instead of it being a minimum 2, maximum of 5, with Superior Summoning, it's a minimum now of 3, maximum of 6. You see that? This one is always only going to be 1, the Dire Wolf. So there's nothing you can do about that. But he's still a solid little bastard. And you can buff him up, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, he still is a solid choice. Might not make the cut. What will make the cut? Well, I can't tell you the order of these ones that make sense, but definitely want Acid Pit, Animate Dead, Bone Shatter probably, and then probably Dragon's Breath. I say maybe Dragon's Breath because, again, Evocation, Fire, and Cold is all in here. And these ones will be useful, but you'll just grab them as you see fit. And again, more Cleric spells you just saw. More Mystic Theurge. Notice our level 3 spells are going to translate over now. That's going to be awesome. More Wisdom, and I want you to see this. So notice we're at +4 now. That's free spells for here, 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 and here, and that's for both categories. So we got 8 free spells by having this right now. Notice when I push this up to +5, how the number 1s from the 6 and 7 go to 7 and 8. Ready? Bam. That's how this works. It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And that's how it will continue to go with all your pluses. But it's even better than that. You can't see it right now. But technically our level 5 spells have a +1 right now as well. Uses per day. How do I know that? Because again, I know how the pattern works. So again, it literally goes 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 goes here, like I just said, but it also goes here. So 5 and 6 would buff these two and the level 2. 7 will buff this guy and level 3. 8 will buff this guy and level 4. You get the idea. And of course, +9 would buff your 9 and again recycle back to here, buffing this again. Point is, Jack this up, you get lots and lots and lots of spells. And this guy is going to be amazing at the number of spells that he has, which is why you're playing him. And people may say, well, you suck at casting. You're going to be really weak. Yeah, at level 8 and lower, you're probably going to suck. 8 is when you unlock Mystic Theurge. Once you start getting from 8 to 9 and on up, trust me, you will feel powerful. And that's like chapter 2, maybe the start of chapter 3. That's fine. You got plenty of chapters of having fun with this character. From here, level 2, we got Mirror Image, Burning Arc, Blur. Let's grab that Bone Shaker. I know I want it. Auto hit, and again, the Cleric side has it too. Level 3, we got Fireball and Stinking Cloud. I'm going to grab probably Haste. Yeah, let's get some buffs for the team. And yourself as well. You know, you will use a crossbow. You suck at it, but you still will use your crossbow. And an extra swing is an extra chance to try to hit. So, why not? Level 4. All your free Cleric stuff that transferred over, just an amazing amount of screw. Race spell, no less. And it's something else to point out. Notice that when I play a Cleric, one of the few spells that you rarely slot are your Remove Disease, Remove Blindness, Remove Curse type spells. Because you're like, why bother? You know, you have them, but you're never going to know that you're going to be blinded in this upcoming battle, right? So you use it after the fact. Well, not anymore, baby. You have spontaneous fucking casting. Cast that shit as you need from this level of a sorcerer. Just saying. There's reasons to love that it's merged spell books from both sides. Notice I think Remove Curse is missing, and I think that's because we actually have access to that as a sorcerer. So if you want to have spontaneous casting of Remove Curse, you need to pick it. We're not going to. I'll just use that again from the Cleric, or I'll use it from a scroll or a wand. That's good enough for me, because it's very rare. Level 4, though, we want Animate Dead, Acid Pit, Bone Shatter. Those are our last 3, so let's get a little army going. Animate Dead. And notice that these are Necromancy, these are not summons. So your Augment summoning doesn't help. Your Superior summoning won't buff them at all. But they're still awesome. You definitely want them. Remember, these guys are immune to, like, poisons, which we have. We're immune to cold spells, which you're going to get in spades here in a moment. And then you're immune to, like, diseases, which we're not going to use, but you could. And again, lots and lots of utility for those guys. More Mystic Theurge, please. Going to take those 3. Okay, keeping all our spells. What am I going to grab now? Well, you got Greater Elemental Focus for fire. Or we could start grabbing Elemental Focus for cold. I say we do that. Now, why? Well, let's get level 5 spells and see what's on our list, shall we? Level 5, Acidic Spray makes the cut. It's because it's a conjuration spell. There's still spell resistance, which I disagree with, but it says it's pen and paper accurate, so we have to trust that. But the reason we like this is not just because it's conjuration, which is a +2 for our build, but if they fail to save, not only do they take 15d6 of damage, but then they take another 7d6 of damage for the very next round. So it's 12d6 of damage, or sorry, 22d6 of damage total if they fail that check. So that's appealing. Don't like that one. Other ones on this list were Cloud Kill, which we're probably going to take right now, matter of fact, because it's a conjuration and a poison and no spell resistance. So again, win-win-win across the board. Cone of Cold is going to make the cut because a cold spell, evocation and cold, gotta love that. Now, we probably won't grab Fire Snake. It's on the list because it is a good choice, evocation and fire. Teammate friendly, no less, so you don't have to worry about burning your little Skeletors, but it's harder to line up that beam than it is to do something like Cone of Cold. And if he's got the skeletons out, remember they're immune to cold, so you can stand right behind those fuckers and just AoE blast in the big freaking cone. Cold damage, cold damage, cold damage, and it helps piss off the guys that are beating up on the skeletons. So it's just a reason that I like that over Fire Snake, but there's still a solid choice. Notice I didn't point out Constricting Coils, a paralysis spell, because the Cleric has access to it. And while, again, you may say, well, grab it so you can have it multiple times. You don't really use paralysis spells multiple times, in my estimation. We will get a couple. Don't kid yourself, and we'll get them from the Sorcerer side. So we will have paralysis spells, but not this kind. Not the will save ones. We'll get the ones that are reflex save. For example, an evocation cold spell that has a saving throw. That's going to be a +4 for our check. Yeah, their spell resistance lasts a long fucking time, does cold damage over time too, and it has an effect even if they make their reflex save. So watch this. They're paralyzed if they don't make their save, and entangled, which doesn't matter, but they're paralyzed. They don't take any damage at level or the first round. The second round and on up, they start taking cold damage equal to your caster level, which again will for us be eventually 17. But keep reading. If they make their save, or even if they don't make their save, every round thereafter, they can do a strength check to break free. So again, on strong targets, they're going to break right out of this shit. But think about this. Even if they they pass on their reflex save, they are still entangled in the ice. They're just not paralyzed. Then every round thereafter, to break out of the entangled effect, they need a strength check. Okay? And again, we have spells and ways to lower their strength. So again, you can soften them up, so to speak, so they're constantly in the entangled effect. And entangled still like lowers their dex, makes it easier for you to hit them, slows them down, blah, blah, blah. So entangled effect is still useful. So even if they make the check, something happens. Then, if they don't make the check, that paralysis, they are helpless. They're the definition of helpless. A dex of effectively 0, which means it's so fucking easy to hit those bastards. So while you don't have sneak attack because we didn't grab Sense Vitals, Octavia's on the team, isn't she? Or Knock Knock. Send those little fucking knife-wielding sons of bitches to start shredding these bastards that are paralyzed up. They'll do sneak attack, sneak attack, sneak attack, sneak attack. It'll be ridiculous the amount of damage that paralyzed target will take. And again, we will have a really solid buff to the chance of making this stick. +2 and +2. That's an amazing spell. So it's definitely making the cut. Other stuff on this list, and I should have pointed out for level 5, we only get to pick 4 spells. Other stuff on the list, just for its utility. Shadow Evocation. I know we're not an illusionist, but hear me out. You can cast a Fireball spell that will get a +2 because of your Elemental Focus and Greater Elemental Focus Fire. Because we also went for Cold, same with Ice Storm, and again, Volcanic Storm is also Fire. So these 3 spells will at least get a +2 to them. That's not that impressive, I'll grant you. But you get Shout for free, and we're probably not picking up Shout, remember? And Lightning Bolt for free, which we're not picking up. And again, it's not an evocation spell, it's an illusion electric spell as far as this spell is concerned, which we have no buff for. But so what? You still want it, don't you? So again, we have utility here. And I do like Shadow Evocation. That's really the last, not to, of course, always mention your summon monsters, but of the spells that I want, again, of the 4, I like Acidic Spray, I like Cloud Kill, we're grabbing that now, I like Cone of Cold, that's already 3, and I like Icy Prison, that's 4. I didn't even mention Hungry Pit, which I should. That's a 5. So you already see we're already above what we need, and Shadow Evocation would put us at 6 spells. So we're already at 6, and I have to only pick 4. So you have to triage. Something has to go. I can't pass on Cloud Kill. This just, again, trivializes so many fights, and as a Cleric, you can make your team and yourself immune to that fucking poison, no spell resistance, and even if they make the Fortitude save, something still happens. They still take damage to their con stat. So it's pretty goddamn nice. Staying in that cloud, it likes to drift and move away, depending on the way the caster faces. So if I'm facing like north, like to the top of the map, it'll drift away from me. After I cast it, if I, like it's drifting away from the bad guys, let's say this is the bad guy. I cast it on top of them, and then in like a couple rounds, it drifts past the guy. If I face the other way, face down, it will start drifting back down towards the guy again. So again, you'll get to play with it a little bit, just so you know that that's a nice trick. But I do like Cloud Kill. Look at all the cool shit you're getting from the Cleric side of things. And again, you never feel left behind once you start Mystic Theurge because you're always progressing the Cleric side of things, which is the other reason I like this build. Mystic Theurge. Always those 3. Level 2 spell. This should be our last one, I'm thinking. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is level 5. Yeah. Okay, so again, what are we grabbing from here? Do we grab Web? Or do we grab Glitter Dust? I can't tell you. I mean, honestly, I know I'm going to go with Glitter Dust, but Web is perfectly fine too. You don't have any protection from either, but that's not true. Your Cleric side of things is a spell called Freedom of Movement, which allows you to buff up you and or your teammates with immune to paralysis and immune to things like the Entangled effect like you would get from a Web spell. So again, Web is pretty goddamn cool, and it's big AoE. Glitter Dust is less AoE, but I do like the blind effect. It is Conjuration, so at least we get a buff to the attack, and no spell resistance, but same with Web. But the other thing I like about it, there's an effect even if they make their save. Same with Web, though, too. But this one is a minus to their stealth. So again, if you're trying to get those ninja stealthy invisible bastards lit up like a Christmas tree, Glitter Dust, baby. Level 3. Gonna grab myself some, Sting Cloud, Fireball, Haste. This is my last level 3 spell, so we gotta be real careful here. Do we grab that Battering Blast? There's nothing wrong with that. I like Displacement. You don't have Greater Magic Weapon or Fly in your build, but I like Displacement. Even Heroism is not the worst choice. We could get Hold Person, but notice something. See where it says up there, where it says spell is available to Tristian? You are Tristian. It's because it's available on the Cleric side of things. So again, I can have access to a paralysis spell that is a will save. So I don't need to grab this here. I can only slot it once, say, on Tristian's side. I'll be fine with that. And again, sometimes that'll come in handy. Sometimes you'll just never use it. But you'll convert it to a heal spell. So it still has utility. But I don't need to spontaneously cast these. These are not that powerful, and you're probably not going to use it that much. So I'm going to pass on that. But the other one to like, again, with Summon Monster or Spike Pit. Remember, I don't like the Pit one because it doesn't do damage over time, just the initial damage. But Slow is on this list. So we can either grab Slow or Battering Blast. I know, right? Hard decisions. But if you're going to have at least one Pit spell, I still maintain that Battering Blast is a solid choice. And here's why. Remember, you can literally bap the little bastard up to 3 times. And for every ball that hits him in the face, if you read the tooltip on this, for every ball that pushes him in the face, you get a bonus plus 10. So you get a base amount first. Then if the second and the third ball smacks him in the face too, it's a solid plus 20 to that CMB check to push him back. And with 3 hits, I've been able to push back giant-ass fucking trolls when those motherfuckers have a CMD, the defense version, the counter to this, have a really high one. So I can still smack them around and push them back. They don't go flying back like 50,000 feet, but they'll push back just enough to push them back into that damn pit spell, or back into a grease spell, or a web spell, some area of effect thing, Sirocco, whatever. You get the idea. So this is highly useful. And again, even though we're not getting sneak attack, it's still cool, and it's not heavily resisted. And not available on the Cleric side of things. So again, the Clerics will be able to cast it, but they'll only get 2 balls, because we'll be 13d6, sorry, level 13, so that's only 2 balls. Sorcerer will be 17th level, so that'll be 3 balls, because it's at level 5, 10, 15, and 20. You get each of the balls. So that's a good choice. Level 4, we got Dragon's Breath and Animate Dead already. So that's 2 of our 4. So we got 2 more coming. What are we going to grab? Look at all the shit that just showed up, first off, just to get a familiarize yourself with what you just got. We did want that Acid Pit, and we did want Bone Shatter, right? Which do you want? Well, we just got something that can push him into a pit. Why not grab the pit? And remember, if you went acid instead of cold, you're doing real good for yourself here. And no spell resistance, a solid choice. Level 5. Now, we got a Cloud Kill. We're only getting 4 spells from this level. That's cool. I don't necessarily want an Acidic Spray. I know I said I want it on the list, but I definitely want the Cone of Cold. I also want the Icy Prison. So, one of those 2. Probably the Cone of Cold first, because it's AoE damage, and now you remember you still have your skeletons, right? You got Animate Dead just a level ago, so now you have the ability to blast through them. Doesn't hurt them one bit. That's not bad. Going, Mystic Theurge, another feat, points. Okay, what we got going on here? Keeping all the spells. Notice something. We got Greater Elemental Focus here. Notice we don't have Greater Elemental Focus for the other ones. Why? Or not Elemental, sorry. Greater Spell Focus. Why? Because we already picked up one. The other one's hiding down here. See that? The game assumes that since you went Greater Elemental Focus for Evocation, you don't possibly want it for Conjuration, too. The fuck I don't. Give me my goddamn Greater Spell Focus Conjuration, you jackass. Then we'll do the same with Elemental Focus for Fire and Cold. Here at level 6, what we're going to grab here. You only get 3 picks here, so we've got to be real choosy. Okay? Notice some honorable mentions here for all these. Acid Fog, no saving throw, but no spell resistance either. So it doesn't matter that it's acid, doesn't matter that it's conjuration, but it does acid damage. You can hide in the cloud with resist energy or protection from energy or communal resist energy for you and your team. You'd be immune to this, and you could hide in the cloud, and the cloud would do damage and melt the face off of the bastards you're fighting, potentially. It's only 2 to 12 damage, but so what? That's not bad. And there's some buffs and stuff inside and penalties for being inside the cloud versus outside the cloud, because it's hard to see through it, basically. And note that the tooltip here is wrong. So granting all creatures inside the cloud 8 armor class bonus against ranged attacks. I don't find that's true. I find that that's, if you're in the cloud with somebody, there's no problem. If you're trying to shoot outside of the cloud, like you're in the cloud and you're trying to shoot a guy outside the cloud, there's a penalty. And that shit sucks. Chain Lightning is a solid choice. Evocation spell, I love that. It's not something that we specialize in as far as electricity, but so what? Reflex for half and it's solid damage. Teammate friendly, no less. It's a solid choice. Notice, when I am going to take for sure, Chains of Light, another paralysis spell. It's a conjuration spell now, something we got a bonus to, and my favorite part, no spell resistance. Reflex negates it, so that sucks, but we have a solid chance to land that motherfucker. And again, I don't think this was available on the Cleric side, so now it will be. No, wait, no, it's not. I take it back because we're level 6. Damn it. Oh, but they had the Hold Person and Constricting Coils on the Cleric side of things, so they're fine. But this side is covering another reflex save, is my point. Other stuff in this list, again, Circle of Death is not bad. Cold Ice Strike is a solid choice. Another cold spell, another evocation spell, and a swift action one. Why is that important? Well, remember, we just picked up, where are you, bastard? Cone of Cold, right? Well, why do I need this one? They do the same amount of damage. The skeletons are there. Let's picture it. The skeletons are in front of you, holding off the armada of whatever, down the hallway, okay? So you're holding door number 1, and the team's working its way down door number 2. You say, I got it. I got the skeletons. Drop the skeletons. Skeletons are holding their own. They're getting hit, but they're not dying anytime soon, and they're immune to cold. So, do you do Cone of Cold? Sure. But, if you have this too, swift action. Cast this spell, swift, hit as many guys as you can, and your skeletons are immune to it because it's cold damage. And then follow up in the same combat round with Cone of Cold, which is a standard action. You can do a 1-2 punch. See what I'm saying? Not bad, right? And we're definitely picking it up, just not right now. Other stuff that's honorable mention to me is things like Hellfire Ray. You may say, but Brother Mutant, you say you suck at Ray spells. Yes, but remember, multiples are decent. The downside for me on this one is you're not going to get all 3 beams. There is a way around that. You will be caster level 17 by the end of your build. If we drop one of our feats that I'm telling you to grab, and you grab Spell Specialization in Evocation, you can specifically select Hellfire Ray as your spell of choice. By the end of your build, you'll be 17 plus 2 for this spell only, which means you get your 3rd beam. And that's 15d6 of damage 3 times. And by the end of this build, your attack bonus is going to suck. But we have buffs for that. So again, we can get back to the point where you can hit things. And let me just remind you, while you don't have point blank shot and you definitely don't have precise shot, but what do you have? If you start the combat, like you sneak up on the bastards, like they don't see you, you're within range, and you fire off one of these little fuckers, they're not within melee range of anybody yet, right? It's a surprise round. So not only are they flat-footed and easier for you to hit, but they also, it's a touch attack, and you don't have that -4 penalty because of shooting into melee, because that hasn't happened yet. So if you start off every fight with a ray spell from Tristian, like Snowball, Hellfire Ray, Scorching Ray, Acid Arrow, a cantrip for that matter, just to be a dick, you can do that. Then there's nothing wrong with that. So again, still a solid choice. I'm not going to grab it, but know it's there. Greater Heroism, I like it. It's a solid buff, and again, I don't think it's available for the Cleric. So again, with the Cleric buffs and this buff, you could be a really strong shooting son of a bitch. Probably still not going to grab it. What else was on my list? Oh yeah, gotta get my Sirocco. Another fine example. So again, since we're limited to 3, and of course Summon Monster, and Tar Pool, and Transformation, and Truth, too many good things here is my problem. So what am I going to grab? I will get Sirocco. I will get Cold Ice Strike, and Chains of Light. Those will be the 3 items I'm getting. So let's grab Chains of Light first. Another Paralysis Spell is always fun. Boom. Oh wait, no, we get it from the Cleric side too. Oh, hell yeah, he does get it. Poomp! That's cool. And again, I like spontaneous castings for some of these spells, so I don't mind that. Well, let's think about that then. If we get it for free, let's start off then with something that we do want early, and we'll decide if we want Sirocco. Let's grab Sirocco. Still get Chains of Light. I'm cool with that. Let's get Theurge. Nice. More Wisdom. Bam, bam, bam. Level 4, this should be our last pick here. So I got 1, 2, 3 spells. Level 4, you're getting 4 picks. Yep. Okay, so we got our Dragon's Breath, we got our Amygdala, we got our Acid Pit. Time to get that Bone Shatter. Level 5, 4 picks here. We got Cloud Kill, Cone of Colds. We need 2 more. Notice, by the way, the Freedom of Movement and the Death Ward, which is spontaneous casting for your team. You're going to love that. We don't get Constricting Coils because, again, Tristian has it for free on the Cleric side. Icy Prison. Yeah, let's get that Paralysis going, yeah. Level 6. We're going to grab now. Again, let's shy away from Chains of Light for the time being. We will decide if we really need that. Let's grab... You may think, grab Transformation, because now you can fight like a fighter. He's still not good at it, and he doesn't have any armor. You'd have to buff him up to the goddamn 9s with other spells, which we will probably do, and then cast this one, and then he'd be okay, well, decent, with a crossbow. So what? I mean, really, he's still better off casting spells from a distance, so I'm not going to do that. Tar Pool could be okay. What was I going to grab besides Sirocco, damn it? Honestly, I think it... Oh, it's the... There it is. No. Yeah. Cold Ice Strike. Like I said, the swift action is just so nice. It really, really is. And you'll get full damage here from the Cleric side. Notice the Cleric had it as well. But he'll only get 13d6 best case scenario. So again, not quite as cool. I love Icy Prison though. That's just money. Last level of Mystic Theurge. Point to point to point. Now, keeping your spells. Now again, notice Greater Elemental Focus. You can pick one of those, or we can come all the way down here and get the Greater Spell Focus. Oh, those are both filled, so we're good to go. So again, and now it really is Greater Elemental Focus for Cold or Fire. And we just picked up a bunch of Cold spells. Let's go with Cold. We'll get Fire at the end, and then right here at the very end at level 20, which is this one here, will be the Superior Summoning. Okay. From here, level 7, honorable mentions for Caustic Eruption, Evocation spell, no spell resistance, gotta love that, and then we get a +2 to it, no less. And if they fail their check, they take damage for 2 more rounds, equal to half of the damage of the first round. So 17d6, then 8d6 and 8d6. It's not bad. And again, we could cast this from the Cleric side of things too. Don't like that. We got Create Undead, something we won't get on the Cleric side, I don't think. And again, it's not very impressive in that it's only you're summoning one thing at a time, unlike your Animate Dead spell. But again, they're undead and therefore should be immune to the same thing. So cold, poisons, diseases, all that fun shit. And they're a lot tougher. We don't have access to Delayed Blast Fireball. That's because of my mods. We'll pass on that. Firebrand is an honorable mention. It's a teammate buff, including yourself. It does 3 things. 1, it protects you from fire from your spells. So not fire immunity. Fire immunity from your spells, which means, like, for example, if I want to cast fireballs at my feet or at my teammates' feet, if I've buffed them with Firebrand, they're immune. See that? Not for long, but still decent. Also, it turns your and their weapon into fire-damaging weapons, so it does an extra 1d6 of fire damage on a hit. Cool. Then, if you want to cancel the spell early, notice it has a duration, you can instantly cancel it by shooting a ray attack, ranged touch attack, and doing 6d6 of fire damage. And anyone on the team can do that. So, just before it wears off in that very last round, everybody should just go beam to the face of some son of a bitch and say, fuck you. That's a solid spell. Not going to grab it. Key Shout, Kai Shout, however you want to say it, is decent. Sonic damage, good damage. Effect even if they make their save, and an evocation spell besides. Not going to grab it. Legendary Proportions, I would normally steer you away from, but then I saw that it affects teammates. So you can buff yourself, which would be a bad idea because you're still, even with a +6 to your strength, that's now you're at 15. Ooh, ring a ding ding. That's not that impressive. Give that though to say someone like Ragangar or Octavia, or not Octavia. The hell's her name? Amiri or Valerie, someone up in the front ranks. Hell, even, well, it won't work on Jaethal, I don't think. Maybe it will. Point is, buff someone on the front ranks that's going to swing like a goddamn champion, and it's a size bonus, which means it'll stack with their belts of strength +8, and they're going to be freaking awesome. Bonus to strength, bonus to con, bonus armor, DR resistance, their better weapon category. They're just going to mow through shit, and it'll last for a long time. Just make sure to pack your dinosaur bones because it's a material component. Other stuff. Summonings, of course, are always appreciated. Resonating Word, Transmutation, I would pass on it. It does decent damage 3 times in a row, 5d6, 5d6, and then 10d6, but so what? That's 20d6 of damage, best case scenario, if they don't die before that time, because it's every round, 5d6, then 5d6, then 10d6, so 3 rounds of damage. Why not just Kai Shout the motherfucker for a solid 20d6 of damage up front? You know what I'm saying? Tick, tick, tick isn't as impressive as just straight up fuck you. And if I was a transmuter, that'd be a different story. You are not. So again, we don't have any buff to that, but we do have buff to evocation spells. So I would take that before the other. We do have also Plague Storm. I'm not a fan. We can cast it from the Cleric side of things, I think. We get high enough to cast this spell, but I'm not sure. And even if you don't, who cares? It is not teammate friendly, and it poisons or diseases, the area. No spell resistance. So it's a nice spell for necromancy, but I'm not one to want to make my team sick. And I don't think there's a way to make you immune to the sickness easily. Now, yes, as a cleric, we'll have remove disease spells on tap. It's not the point. Why would you still want to do that to yourself? You know what I mean? So again, you can grab it. You don't have to. Umbral Strike, again, you're okay at race spells by this point, but you're not amazing at them. And again, it's a necromancy spell. And despite the fact that it does cold damage, I've said this wrong on a previous video, so I'll make sure to make it clear again here. It is not a cold spell. You don't get a +2 to the saving throw because we got elemental focus and greater elemental focus for cold. It doesn't do any good. That sucks. But it's got a decent range. Let's talk about pros. Decent range, and it ignores concealment, so blur. Not total concealment, so displacement still should help them, I think. A solid damage, and again, if they fail their check, they're blind as well for the duration of the spell. So there's some utility there, but only if you really go necromancy, in my opinion. So what are we going to grab? Are we going to grab that Create Undead? Honestly, on this list here, since you only get to pick 3, I like, and I should have mentioned, I do like Monster Summoning 7. You are really good at summoning monsters. You might as well be amazing at it. We're about to be really good once we get to level 20. And there's some really good ones in here. Notice that since we're good, you're not going to get the Soul Eaters because you're not evil. You're going to get the Axiomites, and you're also going to get the Bralani Azadas if you summon them. Everyone gets the Bogeyman. That one's amazing. But the other 2, those are bastards like to spam Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt for free, no less. So you can get lots of electric damage, but they're not teammate friendly, so they're idiots. So pre-buff up your team with Resist Energy Electric, and they're damn near immune to the damage these bastards can produce. And at that point, summon at will, baby. Have some fun. So I do like those guys. New Cleric spells. Now, we have a choice. We can either level up the Cleric for 3 levels and increase him to level 16, which would be level 8 spells for him. Or we could increase the Sorcerer up to 18 and get him, 17, sorry. And that would be level 8 spells for him. That's what I want to do. I want to go Sorcerer all the way, because spontaneous spells are better, in my opinion. Get going for all 3 of those. Level 5. This should be our last one, if I'm not mistaken. 4 picks. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Now, again, do we want the Hungry Pit? Do we want Shadow Evocation? Acidic Spray? Can't really tell you. Or Fire Snake. I do like the Another Pit spell. And I don't mind that one because, again, it's another one that does damage over time. Conjuration buff. No spell resistance. Solid spell. Remember your summons. Your Animate Dead and your Create Undead. And, of course, all the summon monsters are idiots. They will fall in these pits. So you got to be real careful with how you place shit. Summon your pets to one side. Summon the pit on the other side kind of thing. Otherwise, they will walk right into that shit to try to get to a bad guy. So they're kind of stupid. Level 6. This is probably our last one from here, too. 1, 2... Yeah, 3. So this is our last one here. What am I going to grab? Acid Fog, Chain Lightning, Chains of Light. And again, we have that for free. Now that I know that we have that for free, you know what? I'm thinking I might grab something else. Something like Topple. Again, I like the fact that it's fire. We get a buff to that. No spell resistance. I love that part. And again, it's solid damage. We won't get 10d6, but we'll get, I think, 8d6 with this build. It's not bad, and it does damage over time, 2d6, 2d6, 2d6. And if you paralyze somebody in that shit, we'll just watch them constantly take damage. Or throw a Sirocco on top of them, just like I mentioned in the previous build. Solid screw to the bad guy. Level 7. This is, we get 2 more picks, so this one and something else. What do we want from here? I do like Create Undead. Notice we got Resist Energy for free way late. But remember, we had access to that as a Cleric, so I'm not worried. Same with Protection from Energy, so I'm not worried about those. Those are all Cleric spells. So we have access to them now on tap is the point. 6th level Sorcery. Point, and point. Almost done. Last feat. We're going to grab, no, not Mage Tattoo, not Spell Focus either. We got to go all the way to the bottom and find Greater Elemental Focus, thumbs down, for Fire. Okay, so now you have Greater Elemental Focus for Fire and Cold, Greater Spell Focus for Evocation and Conjuration, and at the very last level, that's this guy here, and that's going to be our Superior Summoning. Level 8 spell, you're only going to get 2 picks from here. On my list, Greater Angelic Aspect for the self-buff / immunity to things, and it's an aura centered on you. Remember, you're the heart of the team, you're in the center of the mess. Why not buff everyone in the circle? Solid choice. Same with Death Clutch, it's a solid choice. Frightful Aspect, again, since it's only you, and it's a strength buff and con buff, stuff that you don't really care about as a weak motherfucker, I would pass on it. And by the way, that will not stack with the other one we're going to grab over here, the Legendary Proportions. So you can't cast Legendary Proportions on yourself and be awesome, and then cast Frightful Aspect on yourself and be even more awesome. There's some stuff that'll overlap, but not the strength and not the con, because they're all size bonuses. I don't think you have access to Incendiary Cloud. I think that's because of my mod. If you do, grab it, because that's a Conjuration Fire spell and no spell resistance, but I don't think so. So we're going to pass on that one. Polar Ray, again, no saving throw don't matter, and that it's cold. It's a Ray spell, single target. We will not get all that damage, but it does do Dex Drain, so it's kind of cool, and it is decent range on that, but I'll pass. The only divination spell that has a saving throw, but screws them completely. You rack the target's body and mind with the anguish and suffering of every bitter failure it will ever experience. Mom, why are you so mean to me? Sorry. But it is cool because even if they pass their check, if they don't, they're permanently shaken and sickened. If they pass it, they're still shaken and sickened for 1 round per caster level. So that's going to be 17 levels at the end of our build. It's a complete screw you to a single target. But we don't have any buff to that save. I still like the fact that there's an effect, but also there's targets that are going to be immune to shaken, immune to sicken, or immune to both, and the spell then is useless. Or maybe they're immune to curses for that matter. And again, won't do you any good. So, cool spell, pass. I do like Greater Shadow Evocation for its great utility. Look at all the spells that you get. Chain Lightning, we didn't pick that up. Cold Ice Strike, we'll get a buff to that. Kai Shot, we didn't grab that. Sirocco, we did grab, but I'll have another one, and it's a fire spell. Caustic Eruption, we haven't picked that yet, and probably won't. That's a solid AoE spell. It's not teammate friendly, so be careful. And Elemental Assessor, a nice ray spell that does all 4 elemental types of damage. This is a decent spell. Storm Bolts is good, Sunburst is good, Summon Monster is good, Greater Shout's good. I do like Sea Mantle. I also like Rift of Ruin, but again, we're only getting 2 things, so there's too many things to pick from. I can't tell you what to pick. But again, no spell resistance, a pit spell that continually does damage to them, and it's straight up just evil looking pit that just like pushes them down with its creepy ass claws above it, and it's like a rotating amount of damage, damage type. So every round is going to be random. So it's acid, or maybe it's bludgeoning, maybe it's cold. Now it's electric, suddenly it's fire, then it's piercing, or slashing, or sonic, and it just continues to rotate. So if they're immune to all these different things, oh, I'm immune to acid. You can't hurt me with fire. How about sonic, motherfucker? It's just going to be random as hell. And it's kind of cool. And it, again, patches in with our beautiful, where you go, battering blast spell that we can shoot them into it, right? Pocket pool, or dungeon pool, if you will. So I do like that one. So am I grabbing it? Sure, why not? The other one I'll grab will be probably Sea Mantle. I could get Shadow Evocation, but I do like the buff for him. And Sea Mantle is a solid buff, personal buff for him. Maybe I will grab Greater Shadow Evocation, though, honestly. He probably shouldn't be getting hit all that much. Last level. I want you to see this. We're going up to a +6. Now watch my spell upgrade. +6 means that the +6 or level 6 categories are going to get a free spell, right? So here should go to 4. That should go to 7. But remember how it works. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then back again. 5, 6. So you should all see the level 2s go up 1 as well. Ready? Bam. 7, 8, 4, 7. You just got 4 free spells, buddy. Just fucking saying, that's pretty fucking cool, right? Something that hasn't been working, and I don't know what's going on with this. I thought that if we artificially buffed your wisdom, like give you a wisdom hat, that you would get free spells again too because of that. But it doesn't seem to be working. I'll show it to you. Maybe it just glitched yesterday, and I just don't know what I did wrong. But this is your last bloodline feat. Notice that the list here is pretty limited. If you didn't grab Augment Summoning, this would not be here. And Augment Summoning would be in its place. If you didn't grab Spell Focus Conjuration, Augment Summoning wouldn't be here either. So that's why we went Conjuration, just so we're clear. But that's the one we're grabbing, and I'm cool with that. Notice Weapon Finesse at the very end of your build. Who gives a shit? I would never touch that at that point. Piss off, game. Level 7 spell. What was the last one I was going to grab here? Legendary Proportions, wasn't it? So I can buff a teammate and make them fucking awesome. Level 8, and again, I said I'd grab probably Greater Shadow Evocation, just for its utility. If you don't, again, feel free to grab Sea Mantle. It's a solid buff. So is Mind Blank or Protection from Spells, but watch this here. Notice that it's a +8 resistance bonus to your saves. For long periods of time, cost some diamond dust, you can cast it on anybody. But if you get a Cloak of Resistance +6, that's not only to spells and spell-like abilities, it's everything. So, and they don't stack. So yeah, 8 is better than 6, so this would be a better, but only by 2. Is it really that impressive? It's cool, sure, don't kid yourself, but same with like Mind Blank. Resistance bonus to saves against all mind-affecting spells and effects. And again, with a Cloak +6, I at least like that it's 24 hours. So you could cast that on one person, cast it on another person, cast it on the whole goddamn team, fight, take a knee. You still got like damn near 16 hours of buff left. You can still fight some more, take another knee, and it's still beyond you. But I'd rather cast that than from a scroll, right? So yeah, I still maintain that Shadow Evocation Greater or Sea Mantle is your 2 choices here. I do like the Rift of Ruin, but if you don't like, some people don't like pit spells. I should point that out because again, their pets are stupid. And if you're not doing if you're not doing turn-based combat real time with pause, your teammates are stupid too. They'll run into that shit. But since I do turn-based combat, it's less of a problem. My summons, my skeletons and undead, and my pets and whatever are idiots, sure. But again, if you know that, just again, pets on one side, Rift of Ruin on the other. Keep them separated. If that's your thing, again, you hate that. Again, go see Mantle and Greater Shadow Evocation. That's two solid choices. There's nothing wrong with that. Again, protection and energy free. Now, I could show you stuff. Oh, let's just quick rest up so that I have all my spell. Matter of fact, first I want to do something else. Just because I want to show you the spell books, I want to delete these ones, and you may go, what the hell are you doing? Those are your cleric spells. Why would you delete them? I want to show you what you just have just from the sorcerer side of things, okay? Now, go here, if you have access to this mod, I should say. Go to Rest and Rations, Instant Rest. Everyone should be healed, and everyone should have all their spells and abilities back. So this is Tristian. Right over here, pause it. For his sorcerer spells, 8 uses a day, 8 uses a day, 7, 7, 7, 7, 6, 4, and that's it. From the sorcerer side. And look at all the shit he had access to. Nothing really different at level 1. These are just his sorcerer spells, but at level 2 it's going to explode. Look at all that fucking cleric shit. Again, Bone Shaker just waiting for you, baby. We got Protection from Evil, Shield of Faith. And again, this will be a solid buff. Now, on this something else we really need to discuss. Notice you have 2 different caster levels, 13 or 17. So if it's coming from the Cleric, it's only considered level 13. So a spell like this, 1 minute per level. That's a 13-minute buff. If I cast it from the Sorcerer side, which is where it's at right now, 17-minute buff. Also, it scales. You see the +2 starts out at level 18, which neither of us are at level 18. By us, I mean the Cleric versus the Sorcerer side. We would get a +5 bonus max. We don't have that. But I can at least get a +4 from the Sorcerer. And I don't think you get a... No, you would be +4 from the Cleric too, because it's every 6 levels. Well, that works out nice. So basically it's the same spell for either of them for the buff, just the duration will be different. But on that, again, other things will play out later. Again, a fine example, Bone Shaker. We'll have this as the Cleric and as a Sorcerer. So, what does it do? 1d6 of damage, 3d6 of damage plus 1d6 per 2 caster levels. So round down. So this would be 6, remember 12, right, divided by 2. So 6 plus 3d6. So from a Cleric, it'll do 96 of damage. If we cast it from the Sorcerer side of things, it'll be 8 plus 3d6, so it'll be 11d6 of damage. So again, stronger. Be clear on this. Other stuff, everything else, the range, the spell resistance, spell resistance will be impacted as well. 13 versus 17. So if you have spell resistance, hit them with the Sorcerer one. It'll be your best chance of landing. It's not ideal, I'll grant you. But remember, we got plenty of spells that have no spell resistance. I would focus on those instead. But keep an eye out for your levels, because you'd be like, how come it did such shitty damage? Oh, I cast it from the Cleric side of things, didn't I? Yeah, you did. So keep an eye out for shit like that. You'd be surprised how many spells you have that have level adjustments to them. Another fine example is... Where are you at, you little bastard? Did I miss it already? No, it's going to be level 5. Right here. Divine Power. This is the one that makes you a fucking son of a bitch on the battlefield. Notice the bonus to attack rolls, not your weapon. So it's not melee, not strength-based bonus. This is just to an attack bonus. That means your ray spells, your touch attacks, your crossbow, your scimitar if you're wielding it like some kind of idiot. You get a solid bonus. +1, all the way up to a maximum +6. We will not get +6 because that caps out at level, I want to say 18. We're not level 18. But you'll get a +5 if you cast it from the Sorcerer side of things. If you cast it from the Cleric, it goes down to at least a +4, maybe even a +3. So it's kind of lame. So cast it from the Sorcerer side. It lasts longer too. Not much longer, but 4 more rounds is 4 more rounds. That's 24 seconds of whoop ass. That might be the next room for all you know. You get an extra attack, 10 hit points based on your caster level. So 13 versus 17. Again, this is important stuff to keep an eye out for. Which one do you want to cast? When it comes to buffs, it'd be nice to have this last longer, so I'm not going to say don't cast it as a Sorcerer, but the other reason you like it from the Sorcerer is I like the spontaneous casting from the Sorcerer, so I have multiple castings a day of Death Ward. Frontliners, you definitely want that shit, so here's 1, 2, 3. Do you want to slot your precious Cleric spells to get Death Ward 3 times? Probably no. Use this 3 times. Boom, boom, boom. Covered, and I still got 4 more spells a day of whatever the fuck I want, dude. Plenty of shit. That's why I love this build. And again, while the Sorcerer spells per day was impressive, let's look at the Cleric side of the spells. Not counting domain slots, because I can't tell you what you have. For some reason, my mod gives me 5 domains. Don't ask me why. but 2 of those domains are definitely yours. So you would have 2 of these that are tan. Okay, so pick from those 2 to put here. Notice, for example, I'm not saying that this is yours, but Shield of Faith can be here or here. If, say, you were Burning Hands or Shield of Faith, and I'm not saying that is your choices, but let's say it is. I would double-click this and see, oh, Burning Hands can only go here. What about Shield of Faith? Oh, I can get Shield of Faith down here. Well, then, if I want Burning Hands, this is the only place I can put it. Might as well put it there. Take it. You know, just decide if it's worth a damn. But if it's good, keep it, and then use your Shield of Faith down here. Perfectly viable. Or go crazy with your Sorcerer build, because at Sorcerer, you'll notice we don't have Burning Hands, but you do have Shield of Faith for free. So your domain spells did not carry over, unless they were capable of being cast down here too. See that? So Burning Hands is unique. That's what I'm saying. So go through those, decide which ones are unique. I think it's honestly Fairy Fire, and if it is, you definitely want Fairy Fire, because this is basically what you wish Glitter Dust did. It's the one where it takes away the displacement, the blur, the invisible effect, period. Just fuck you. There's no save even. It's just a bam, I hit you, and now you're outlined. And then it's a solid penalty to their stealth as well. But it's an amazing screw you spell. And again, if you only get once a day, so what? It's still worth having. Other than that, remember, never slot Cure Light spells or Cure spells for this character, because you can convert all your Cleric spells into Cure spells. Remember, that doesn't count for Heal, because while it's a curing spell, the spell you would convert it to would be the Mass Cure Moderate Wounds, AoE. And on that, remember I said conjuration spells we have a bonus to? If you're going to attack undead, those will hurt undead. Remember? And again, there is a will save based on conjuration. We got a bonus to that. No spell resistance, no less. So walk over and touch them on the shoulder. Well, I don't want to do that because that's stupid. I'd get hurt. Yes, I'd agree. So level 1, 2, 3, and 4 spells are all the touch attacks. Notice at level 5, 6, and 7, you have AoE spells. Where are you at, you little bastard? Like so. I'm not saying to slot them. I'm just saying that you have access to them. You can convert any spell at this level to this, right? Now, let's say your teammates are getting mugged by a bunch of fucking ghosts or zombies or undead in general. You have an AoE spell at your beck and call that can do damage to them, bad guys, and heal your team at the same fucking time. Why wouldn't you use this? Well, I'll just use my AoE heal / undead damaging thing. Yeah, these things, you don't have many uses a day, and remember, they're stuck at level 3 Cleric. Remember, we're only at level 3 Ecclesia Theurge. See that shit? So it's stuck at level 3. What's level 3 for these? 2d6 of damage or 2d6 of healing per click. Ring a ding ding. They ain't killing nobody. You use them to top off your team from start to finish of the game. It's not my point. My point is, these are going to be straight up garbage compared to the other generic build I just gave you yesterday. So, run with your strengths. You have spells up the fucking yin yang. And again, a lot of cool shit that you can do with the Cleric side of things that you can also do with the Sorcerer side of things. But again, think about what you have access to. Do you really care about the buffs? Do you want the Cleric to use like the special stuff, like the stuff you're only going to use like maybe once a day, like maybe you're only going to have one Create Undead spell out at any given time, because that's good enough. Maybe I didn't grab the Summon Monster 7, so you want that. Here you go. Maybe I didn't grab any of the Elemental spell. Maybe you want to have a big-ass Fire Elemental every now and again. Just keep it in your back pocket, and if you never use it, you can have the ability to convert it into that heal we talked about. A solid choice. Maybe you want an auto-hit spell like Necromancer. Remember, the level 6 and 7 spells don't transfer over. Only 1 through 5 become 2 through 6. So, if it's here at level 6 as a Cleric spell, it is only available as a Cleric spell. So, like if I grab Eagle Soul or Blade Barrier, it's not available on the Wizard side because I didn't take them and I didn't have access to them, right? So again, if you want it, now's your chance to slot it. Same with things like personally speaking, I would do like heal, and I would do harm, and maybe just like one other thing, just be like your Chains of Light. Remember, I didn't take that on purpose because we had access to it as a goddamn Cleric. So here you go. Boom. Paralysis, motherfucker. And again, good conjuration. Doesn't last for long because it's only going to be 13 rounds. But so what? If it works and they never break out of it, fucking awesome. And that's money. That's a solid screw you to your bad guy. And the no spell resistance is just bank. Because again, stuff that'd be paralyzed with like hold monster or hold person or constricting coils or icy prison all have spell resistance. Not this one. Lock them up with that motherfucker. You ain't doing shit, bitch. And it fucking looks awesome. Other stuff. Think of stuff like auto hit moves like your destruction that I got over here. Solid spell. 10 points of damage per caster level, even at the Cleric 13. That's 130 points of fucking damage at range. And it doesn't say you have to hit them. It's just auto hit, I'm guessing. That sounds like cool. Now, there's a saving throw. Not even half damage. It takes the damage from your 130 down 10 to d6. But so what? If you maximize that spell and they still made the save, that'd still be 60 points of damage. I'm not saying I would do it, but I'm just saying that's an option. And it still did something. So again, if you just need to love tap somebody and auto hit, here you go. Other stuff that I would do, I mean, your obvious cleric stuff, your resurrection spells, your raise dead spells, all that shit's applicable. But as far as like your curative spells, if it's level 5 or lower, it's probably available on your sorcerer side of things, right? Remember, remove curse being the exception to the rule. But if I can find one, like cleanse for you, break enchantment's a solid choice. Raise dead, of course. How about neutralize poison? Has some uses, but chances are, if you've pre-buffed up with delay poison or communal delay poison, you'll never touch this. But accidents happen, or people strip off your spells with like dispel magic, or you get jumped and you haven't had a chance to activate your delay poison communal for your team, right? So this is still useful. I wouldn't necessarily slot it, but it's there for when you need it, is what I'm saying. Your other buffs, again, you could put these down here, but again, you have them spontaneous on the other side. Why would you use these precious slots up when you can grab, say, like a lot of restorations, maybe you want to have that dismissal, just handy for when they summon their own undead horde on your ass. You can make that shit just go away. We got Stinking Cloud, more uses of it, and again, it's an amazing spell. Look for spells that doesn't matter what your caster level is, more or less. I mean, if it's like dismissal, for example, the only thing that your spell level would impact, the 13 versus the 17, is this here. So if there is no spell resistance, the will save is going to be the same for you. You have no bonus to abjuration. It's going to be the same exact DC check. Nothing different. So feel free to slot that over here as a weak-ass level 13 Cleric versus a level 17 Sorcerer. Why would you waste it? And I don't think I picked up Dismissal, so actually it's not even available on your Sorcerer side because we didn't pick it on purpose. So Dismissal's not available to you over there. Constricting Coils wasn't available to you over there because we didn't grab it. Again, look for those things. Slot your build appropriately, and you'll change stuff up. You'll say, hey, I really kind of like that spell. That spell was cool. Or, hey, maybe I want to shout at people like my holy word of fuck you from God. Whatever. You do your thing is my point. You'll have plenty of fun, ton of spells, and again, you'll be surprised at level 8 on up when you finally start Mystic Theurge how badass this dude will become. Just to have some fun. And again, I only rested with my wizard spells. But just to have some fun, let's throw out some skeletons to be a dick to this troll over here. Son of a bitch! I love you now. And yeah. Oh no, we're taking the damage. Yeah, pretty good roll on it. We got 6 of the boots. I think that's the highest you can get. Because I think it's 1d4 plus 2. That's not bad. So pass your turn there, Val. You too, buddy. Lindsay, you can sing us a song. Sure, why not? Skeletons will appreciate it. Ooh, missed. Ooh, he hit, though. I want to show you that one trick I was talking about earlier. Lemiri, you just hold your turn, kid. Now, Remember, I told you specifically that he has a very cool feature, right? That's 2 spell combo. What was it? Level 5 was Cone of Cold, which again can go through them, won't hurt them one goddamn bit because they're immune to cold, and will hit that troll. But why do that when you can do 2 spells at once? So let's use our Swift action for Cold Ice Strike. Remember your Swift action's right there. It's automatic. Oh, looks like I need a stutter step maybe a little bit forward. So go 5 foot forward. Still get my swift action, right? So do my Cold Ice Strike. Hit him for 51, immune to damage. You saw that? And again, you'll see that I still have my action, my standard action. So now I can still cast another spell like Cold. Suck it, loser. You see what I'm saying? You will have fun. You just gotta trust me on the fact that once you get to level 8 and start Mystic Theurge, it just all comes together now. And if you just treat him like a massive caster type, then he's fine. He'll buff teammates, himself as well. He'll debuff the bad guys. He'll summon pets. He will be awesome. And again, I should just point out before we leave the DC check on some of that shit. So let's look at that Cone of Cold, because there was a reflex saving throw, right? DC 25. Why is it DC 25? So let's follow the bouncing ball. Both of your spells are going to, or whether it's Cleric or Sorcerer, will come from Wisdom. So whatever this number is over here, that's your bonus. So it's always base 10 plus your bonus. So now we're at 16. Then the level of the spell, this was a level 5 spell, so 16 and plus 5 is 21. So why is it 25? 2 points from evocation, 2 points because it's a cold spell. You see that? That's why it's 25. 4 points higher than what it could have been. Should have been a 21. And again, think about this from the best case scenario, just to give you some frame of reference, where you're not using spell focus, greater spell focus, or elemental focus, greater elemental focus. But let's say you had the best possible wisdom, which would be a 24. It'd be a plus 7 here. So it'd be 10 plus 7, 17, plus a level 5 spell, 22. So you're 3 points ahead of the best because of all your spell focus, greater spell focus, and blah, blah, blah. You see what you did there? And we're not done there. Let's show you a gift or two. Oh, we gotta kill this bastard. Damn it. I need you to come over here, sir. Can you hit him with your acid splash? Use that. If you click the pause button or whatever, it speeds up the animation. So it moves them faster ahead. Reg, do what this other weenie couldn't do. Son of a bitch! Skeletons won't do anything, just whoop his ass some more, keeping his health low, so he'll never get the fuck back up. But I need to hit him with some fire or cold damage, or acid damage, to straight up kill him, because he's a troll. He regenerates. Well, that's a nice crit, too. Stop torturing him, it's kind of creeping me out. Alright, Tristian will have to do what you guys just can't. Alright, does Tristian have an auto-hit acid spell? Or fire, for that matter. Well, that would do. Burning Arc, bitch. I like me now. That loser. Okay. Well, what I wanted to show you before we left was some gear. And not every piece of gear. We're not going crazy. I'm not going to show you all the crossbows. You just know to give him any crossbow. Light or heavy, he can use them. Keep him at range. But, item-wise, I wanted to show you robes. And the reason for it is, there's actually a couple really cool ones. So they're under armor. And, of course, you'll give him, like, braces of armor class plus 8 as soon as you can. Blah, blah, blah. But, robe. I think that covers all the robes here. That sometimes you'd be surprised that they're robes, but they don't call them robes. And as such, searching this way doesn't do you justice. But there's plenty of choices. But I wanted to show you just a couple of the cheap ones. Water, fire, earth, and air. Good enough. There's plenty of other choices to pick from. But I wanted to show you why you're looking at those. First off, notice he didn't have anything in his armor slot. He cannot cast this spell. Where are you at? 4. Magic Vestment. You can cast it on clothes, which means robes. But if you don't have any robes officially on in the armor slot, you can't buff it. That's a +4, best case scenario for us, for our armor. And it's not just armor, it's armor enhancement. That means it would actually stat with mage armor, by the way. Or braces of armor class +8. So this is a solid upgrade for his armor. You definitely want it. But again, you can't do it until you get any kind of robe on this doofus. So any of these qualify. Notice, I grabbed the water, air, fire, earth ones for a reason. These are all elemental robes. All they do is your cold spells get another +2 to the DC check. Remember, we buffed our cold spells +2 already, and if they're evocation or conjuration, they're another +2. So you could be at a +6 for those spells. If you didn't go water, you could go fire, and there'd be a +2 from the fire spells. Again, air is electric, earth is acid. That's why I point these out to you. You probably wouldn't use these on, say, Octavia. because while it'd be nice to get a nice +2 to her DC check, she's going to be a beam master, right? She's going to be sneak attacking and shooting spells that have no DC check, like Scorching Ray, Acid Arrow, all her cantrips, her Acid Splash, blah, 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 and of course, Battering Blast. So none of those are going to benefit her. So give them to him. Keep it in your pack and, say, like, he's just, like, slotted up fire spells like willy-nilly crazy man that he is, and give him another +2 to his DC check. Why wouldn't you do that? Or maybe you really wanted to give him the acid buffs, but you never wanted to invest in them because there's only like 5 spells that had acid in them that had a DC check. Well, now you have a +2. Keep it in pace with the fire and the cold buffs that you have already from your feats. You see what we just did there? Yeah, now any acid, cold, or fire spell that you have a DC check to has a +2 to it now. Or if you didn't want acid, you can go with the electric from the Robe of Air. However you do. But you see my point. This not only gives him a bonus to his DC check for whatever we're talking about, but also gives him something that he can buff with that magical vestment. And that magical vestment spell does not work on shields unless they patched that out a long time ago. But I don't think they did. So that's busted. But again, we can buff him a number of ways. And I have it from not only the cleric side of things, but I also have it from the wizard side because he has access to many of these spells. So he could have shield spell on right now. He should have reduced person on himself as well. Takes a while to cast that one. We can do stuff like Shield of Faith, Blur, and all this other stuff besides. A Mirror Image, of course, as well. I could give him Magical Vestment. Oh, no, that was the wrong one. Magical Vestment, that was Effortless Armor. Complete waste, sorry. Haste. Here's a Magical Vestment. There you go. Armor. And that's just some of the buffs. Just to give you a small sampling of what he had access to. Remember, he had no armor. He had a 10 plus 1 from his dex being 12. We're already up to a 26. Give him some braces of armor class +8, and this will jump up to a solid number. And you may start thinking, oh, well, he's tanky now. No, he's not. He is definitely not tanky. Do not confuse the fact that he has protections with the fact that he can be in melee, because he shouldn't be in melee. Keep him with a crossbow, keep him at a distance, keep him casting spells. If he has to go up to heal somebody, to touch a teammate like on a shoulder or some shit, that's different. As soon as you do that, backpedal, GTFO out of there. And again, when you run out of spells, unlikely, but if you did and the teammate's still going strong, you still have the ability to go, here you go, buddy, every round, you got a buff. Or maybe you got a buff. It only lasts for 6 seconds, so again, as soon as you cast it on someone else, it probably wears off on the other guy. But remember, that's a solid +2 to attacks, armor class, and that alone I can stop talking. But there's other shit in there, saving throws and other shit besides. This is a solid buff, and if he has nothing else he can do, like he can't shoot with his bow, and his cantrips straight up suck, and he's not doing any damage with that shit, then have him use that to buff up someone in the front to make them tougher and stronger, or better to hit anyway. And that's a solid upgrade that he's still contributing to the team. Now, this video has definitely been long enough. Now, imagine how bad this video was if I gave you both videos combined. Remember, I was going to do that the other day. But with that, my name is Brother Mute. Please like, subscribe. Tell me what you think about Tristian's tweaky little unmodded Mystic Theurge build down below. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.